Okay. It says that we are live. I hope that's actually the case. We've had quite a bit of technical difficulties, but we're here. We're all alive. Well, all of us, almost all of us are here. We're going to do introductions and things like that before we get started, but I just wanted to warn everybody. Google's really screwed things up, so there's going to be lots of bad language tonight and probably a whole lot of violence exacted on the players. Because, you know, that's the kind of person that I am. So if that's the kind of thing that bothers you, then you should not watch this video. There is going to be bad language. There's going to be dark subject matter. So go away. I also want to extend a sincere thank you to Rachel Ayers. Any of the shields that you see throughout this campaign, she designed, I think with the exception of the one that you see on Lightnor's page there. She's a fantastic artist, and she was a pleasure to work with. So go check her out if you need any kind of artsy needs. What is this? That would help. Session 7 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow. This is a Arthurian-based D&D game set in my homebrew world of Rosgene, the particular kingdom of which is called Vykaril. So it's kind of an Arthurian English, some Germanic stuff kind of all mixed in. And so far, it's been a lot of fun. And I cannot wait to see how things are going to play out from here. It's already been a little bit of an adventure, even just this evening. So I'm going to hand it over first to Karen.
Good evening, everyone. There will be bad language because we're going to fucking swear a lot. And so, yeah, that's that. Tonight, I'm playing Ariana Shial. And she's a little bit ticked right now, so I'm just going to say that and let's get going.
Fantastic. And Baron.
Hello, everybody. I'm Baron. I run the YouTube channel RWD Gaming. We do videos and stuff, and I get to play Masaka Tor, a Angorian orc paladin who is about tired of this father figure and all the shit he's put us through.
It's not very kind. I am sitting right here. So next we have Eli.
I'm going to be very kind to you, Jeremy. You're cool. You're talented. You're pretty. I mean, what is there not to like? By the way, I can't remember. Do I have 1 advantage or 1 inspiration or 20 inspiration? Anyway, I'm Eli Kurtz. Nice to meet you. This is my podcat, Bruce, and I'm with the Mythic Gazetteer. We're publishing stuff at some time in the future. And in the meantime, tonight, I will be playing Sir John Lightenor, a young knight, determined to wander the land and master a new form of deadly combat, but also to squire a young man who is intractable and stubborn. Very glad to see the end of Father Gladeophon this evening, because it will be the end, surely. That's all I have to say.
Surely. Okay, and speaking of this young man, Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve. I'll be reprising Dane, and I imagine that he'll just walk out of this with 1 more father figure issue. So, but maybe the issue won't be that father won't be around anymore. Here's hoping.
And last but certainly not least, we have Josh back.
Hey everyone, I'm Josh. I run the channel Roll the Bones, your one-stop shop for world building whenever I get around to it. Tonight I'm going to be playing Eddard Bainton, the young bard from the town of Warrenton, and now who is back in Warrenton and has a bit of a score to settle. So interested to see where this goes tonight.
As am I. Okay. So, seems like there's a little bit of a lag, but hopefully that won't cause too much of an issue. I'm assuming that nobody has any questions before we get started.
Can we start already?
Damn it, Josh. Damn it, Josh. You didn't even wait. There's a build up.
Josh.
All right. There's a balance in all things, life and death, old and young, feast and famine, joy and woe. Some live lives that are blessed with an abundance of one, while others are cursed with the abundance of another. The gods, or fate, are often cruel this way. But where there develops an unbalance, the correcting of these scales can seem catastrophic. And when it comes time to pay that balance, what of those caught in its wake? Does Evandel smile upon them, or are they left to make their own justice? We find ourselves high above the town of Warrington, far on the northern stretches of the kingdom, considered by most the last true human outpost before you get into the elven lands of the Umberwood. Warrington is riddled with its populace. A pestilence has crept into the city called the Bloodmouth Plague, and its victims lie strewn about the cobbled streets, hanging from rafters and forming burnt pyres all across the city. We travel towards the keep situated near the center. We pass in through an arrow slit and hear an echoed conversation as we travel through deeper into the keep itself until we reach the throne room. And there, seated upon what until very recently was the Baron of Warrington's throne, is a figure that our party knows a little too well. That of Father Geslin Gledeophon, the priest of the virtuous divinity, who led a mob against the 5 individuals and some others, running them out of the city upon threat of death. He narrows his bloodshot eyes in your direction as you burst into the throne room. You can see boils and pustules all over his face and hands, and he has a coughing wheeze. He wipes blood away from the corner of his mouth and a small trickle. The virtuous divinity has seen fit to put me upon this throne of pestilence. I have survived thus far because my only sin was allowing you to escape Warrington the first time. Now, I will show my penance. all of you, make yourselves ready. It is obvious that he likewise is ready for combat. Ariana Shiel, you get the drop on this man. What would you like to do?
Ari is not going to hesitate, and as soon as he opens his mouth, she yells out the words, Shan Ven Rivnahel, and rushes forward and takes that sword that she's got at her side and pulls it out. And as she nears him, she's going to strike first with a kick to... is he still sitting? Because it'll change whenever I kick.
He is, for the moment, still seated in the throne.
Okay, yeah. Then she'll, as she rushes up, kind of do that, like kind of a half roundhouse and kick him in the head with her leg first. And then as she's finishes the 360, she will try to stab him with the sword. And I'm using a bonus action to do the kick.
Right. Go ahead and roll those attacks up.
Those are not so good. Okay, so the kick would be a 16, and the sword is a 12.
The kick will connect, however,
can I use
your
an
sword is
inspiration?
going to miss.
Can I use an inspiration on the sword?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that will be a 24.
Okay, then that will make contact.
Okay. So these. Okay, so the kick will do 8 points of bludgeoning damage, and the short sword will do 8 points of piercing.
What was the total again?
8 and 8. Piercing and bludgeoning.
So your kick connects, and he lets out this rasping kind of as your foot takes the wind out of him, and he's not paying close enough attention as you bring the sword down and you sever 2 of the fingers off of his left hand, kind of against the armrest of the throne.
Lovely. I want to follow that up with this second attack. So she sliced off his fingers. She's then going to turn and almost like with her back, like side slice, sorry, her side to him, kind of shove the sword back into his chest. And that'll be an 18 to hit.
That will also connect.
For 5 points of damage, piercing.
He is no more recovered from these 2 assaults that you have delivered, as your blade then plunges through his gut and he doubles over, and you can feel the tip of your sword hit the back of the throne.
And I think as she pulls the sword back out, she's going to like lean in and whisper to him, heathen, and move slightly to the side, so she's not right in front of the chair anymore.
Do you move back to join the rest of the group kind of in the middle of the room or off to the side? Or
no, I'm going to stay within range of him, like so that I can strike at him if he moves, but I'm moving to the side, so
right.
Yeah, just kind of free up a space.
Okay. He glares at you with these pink-colored eyes and coughs up more blood in his fit from the pain that you've caused him. He then moves his other hand in a gesture, speaking quickly, and you see a bolt of light kind of catch a ring on his finger, and as it does so, you see the reflection of light from that ring go into the palm of his hand, and then he extends his fingers towards the far side of the room, and the glint of light shoots across the room and severs a rope. Everyone other than Ariana Shiel, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please. Okay, everybody rolled well. Fantastic. So you guys are going to only take half. Full was only 10, so you'll take 5 points of bludgeoning damage as a large wooden chandelier crashes down from high above, and you're just hit with pieces of it as it just shatters upon impact on the stone floor. All right. He then draws a weapon that is a flail, and the head of this flail looks like a man's face in agony, and there's spikes coming out from all sides around his head. All right. He gets to his feet, kind of leaning on his injured hand as best he can, and turns to face you, Ariana Shiel. John, it is your turn. Sir John, forgive me.
And don't you forget it. So I've just seen Ariana Shiel run up and take on Father Gladeophon, but then this chandelier bursts down on top of me. So I think Sir John actually sees the chandelier coming, and he lifts up his halberd to take the brunt of the blow and kind of deflect a lot of it off of him, but it hits his fingers, of course, that are kind of wrapped in this gauntlet. And that smarts, and then also, it still comes down and hits him in the shoulder or something. And Sir John kind of muscles this chandelier off of his body, and it crashes to the ground. And pretty much immediately, I am going to charge in and attack Father Gladeophon. And I think, yeah, okay. So let's roll this here and see how this goes. Oh God, that's an 8 to hit. Not great.
You kind of lunge downward with your halberd, but him getting to his feet has changed his positioning quite a bit, and you split the silk cushion on the seat, but nothing more.
Yeah. Okay. So as Gladeophon is missed, Sir John yanks the halberd blade out of the seat, and he brandishes it, and he says, "Fight me, you Vykarilian bastard!"
He staggers to the side as you kind of wrench it free. No, I think not. All right, Dane.
So the crashing chandelier definitely caught Dane by surprise, and actually hurt him, even though he sort of dove to the ground and off to the side to try and avoid it. So as he's standing back up, the air around him grows cold, and his fingers on the stone, if you're able to see it, you can see the frost emanate out, and for a brief moment he's covered in that bluish sheen of ice, and he stands back up and looks to Father Littlefin. You're probably the reason it's like this, aren't you? This is your fault, not ours. I think your biggest sin was being born. And if we can, we're going to change that. And I'll move up to be next to Sir John.
You do so. You move up beside your mentor, and he, this father, this priest, curls his lip in your direction, and he says, "It is because you're consorting with witches. You suffered a witch to live. This is the price that we all pay. It is your sin, not mine." Toward.
In this room, is there any, like... Can I make, like, a perception check to kind of just pick up on if I hear anybody else coming? It seem like we were alone in this castle?
Sure. Please do.
Put 17 on the die for a total of 17.
All right. You do not hear anyone else that seems to be approaching, but there is something that is making its way here, and rapidly.
Hey, something's coming. I imagine I already had my weapons drawn. I don't think I'm going to run up on this guy. There's a couple people already up there. I would like to ready an action on whatever I feel is coming. Like if I perceive this threat, I'm going to attack it.
Okay. All right. Eddard, you're up.
Okay, so the first thing Eddard does is, since he's still in the guise of Reagan from before, he steps forward and he waves his hand, uttering some words under his breath. He's going to attempt to cast Hold Person. That's a Wisdom 15 saving throw.
And he is struck with this magic of yours. And you see him start to grow heavy-eyed. But then he shakes his head and enters another coughing fit. He saved with a 15.
Okay. And with that, Eddard pulls the dagger off the side. Kind of appears from nowhere since Reagan was kind of wearing a dress with no outward weapons showing. He pulls the dagger and he releases the disguised self, and the visage of Reagan just fades into the just pure seething rage on the face of Eddard. And he looks him dead in the eyes. He says, "You will regret coming to Warrington." And he casts invisibility.
Is one of those a bonus action?
Oh shit, you're right. No, it's not. I guess I'll just ready his dagger.
So you'll have to hold.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Okay. He kind of glares back at you, mild recognition playing across his face as he looks at your true form, Eddard. The rest of you now hear the noise that Tord was talking about. There is this abundance of scratching, the sound of like almost like nails on stone, rapidly clawing its way towards you, and it's filling this room now. Ariana Shiel.
So Ariana Shell is going to attempt to hit him again with both a sword, followed up by a knee to his gut. And as she's trying to hit him, she's going to say, "This plague is not our fault. This is your fault for deciding to ban the true gods and believing in your heathen principles." I got a 21 on the sword, but the knee will get a 13 to hit. And I'd like to use a key point to make it a stunning strike on the sword, if I can.
Those will both hit.
Oh,
so
okay.
what does the stunning strike on the sword do?
He needs to make a Constitution saving throw DC 13, or he becomes stunned.
Okay. He got a 17 on the die, so...
Okay. So he will be taking 8 points of piercing from the sword, followed by 9 points of bludgeoning as the knee connects to his stomach. And then I will make my second attack. I guess I'm going to kind of like move around behind him and try to slice at his back there. Oh, and that's a 25.
That will also hit.
Okay, so for 8 more points of piercing.
Okay. You are dismantling this priest, and he is staggering with each of your blows. Drops to one knee at this last slash from your blade, and he is not long for this world. He wasn't before this fight started, but certainly now. However, he has not gone to join his gods yet. It is his turn. He looks up towards the ceiling and reaches his bloody, partially severed hand up onto this holy symbol around his neck and mutters blood-soaked words. And as he does so, the air around him starts to swirl and move. And suddenly you can see the same image that some of you caught sight of the first time you faced this man. Spectral beings spring up all around him and begin to try to cut at you as he casts Spirit Guardians. So, all of you, not all of you, I'm sorry, those of you who have moved up to close with him, so that would be Ariana Shial, Dane, and Sir John. The three of you need to make wisdom saves, please. Okay. Okay, Dane and Ariana Shial, you are going to take half. However, Sir John, you are going to take full as 29 points of damage. Lashes out at you from these spiritual soldiers. If you pass, you take half of that. And I always round in the party's favor. Okay. Finally, the source of the sound that you have been hearing makes itself known to you as from every opening into this room, including those near the ceiling, swarms of rats come in, their teeth stained brown and red from their recent meals. Everyone who has been injured, you have a swarm that closes with you. They seem to be able to smell the blood and have certainly been drawn to it. Okay. First against the father. They miss him somehow. Ari, you have not been touched yet. Sir John, you have... What is your armor class, Sir John?
Hold on just a second. Let me... 18. Well, no, 16 right now.
They hit. Okay, so from these dozens of rats that find holes in your armor and begin biting on you, you're going to take 3 points of piercing damage. Dane, you had one that closed with you as well. No, they missed you. Tord, you have been damaged, but you readied an action.
Yes.
For anything that closed with you, so you may go ahead and take. Let me swing at Eddard real quick, and then go ahead and roll your attack against your. Oh, Eddard. They hit you, Eddard. Eddard. This is a large horde, and they are upon you before you even realize what the hell is going on. They deal 20 points of piercing damage to you. As they critically hit you. Tord, what was your attack?
So I rolled a 9, but my longsword attack bonus is +6. So 15.
That absolutely hits.
Yes. All right. Less than ideal. Total of 6 damage.
6 points. Okay. You wipe out about a quarter of these things as they're coming for you. However, they are still able to get through. The rest of them, that is.
So, with a readied action, if that action is attacked, do I get that second action or second attack, or is that only if I make the attack in my turn?
I think you do get it. I'm not positive unless it says specifically.
Whenever you take an attack action on your turn, so.
Oh, it says on your turn.
Yeah.
Okay, so then yeah, you probably only get the one from the wording of that.
That makes sense to me.
Okay, so several of these things still get past you and try to bite you, but again, I don't think they're going to with a 7.
No,
So
I'm at a 19.
yeah, they're gnashing down on your armor and the leathers of the clothing that you wear, but they're not able to get past it just yet. All right. Sir John, it is your turn.
Ari is also hurt.
Oh, she is hurt.
Yeah. The that wisdom, right? Because I took half damage from that.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
I'm not going to hit you with a 5, though. Go ahead.
first thing for me is a bonus action to use Second Wind and recover some hit points. That's going to be 1d10 plus my fighter level, so 9 hit points total. Come on.
What does that look like?
So basically, these rats surround me and like start to find chinks in my armor to like bite me or whatever. And I am like, I've got my halberd in one hand and I'm using my other hand to tear these rats off of me and like crush them in my hands as I do. And I eventually just like, and like the rats move away because they're scared at that point. And I charge after Father Gladeophon with renewed fury. So I'm going to do an attack against Father Gladeophon, and I had forgotten that I have an extra attack ability now, so I will...
You'll make 2.
Yeah. So let's see here. First attack is a 17.
Yes, that is.
And let's see. Yeah, all right. 14 damage.
Hey. So as he's kind of staggered from the various injuries that Ariana Shial has caused him, he kind of weakly puts this damaged hand up to try to deflect your strike, Sir John, and fails to do so. So what does it look like as you end the life of Father Geslin Gladeophon?
Yeah, so Father Geslin, he holds his hand up to try and stop this blade, and it goes right through his forearm, like the middle of his forearm, the halberd blade, and then it goes into his shoulder and actually about halfway down into his torso, slices him almost clean in half, and so Sir John, like the halberd slams down and he gets right up in Father Gladeophon's face, and he's got his foot on the father's knee, or he's got his foot on the father's chest, and he says, "You will not take this land," and then he kicks him backwards and frees the halberd from himself. And so for my second attack, I'd like to attack either the rats or the spirits around us, if the spirits are still there.
The spirits are very quickly dissipating.
Okay.
Into nothingness as he breathes his final breath.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then in that case, I want to make my attack against the rats that are surrounding Dane. I realize he's in a really bad situation right now. So Sir John is kind of like, he's using the butt of his halberd to crush these rats around him, and he's stomping on them with his armored boot. And just generally trying to get as many of them away from Dane as he can. And I rolled a 9, but I would like to expend a superiority die and do a precision strike. And so I will add 3 to that. Oh, wait, no, that's 12 total on the die. And that's actually going to be 19 total to hit.
So you lash out with the butt of your halberd and your foot, and you absolutely make contact with these things. So go ahead and roll your damage.
All right. That's 10 damage total.
All right. You wipe out what looks to be around half of these things from this one particular swarm around Dane.
Mm-hmm.
But he is still dealing with several of the varmint.
Dane, get free, quickly.
Okay. Dane, it is your turn.
Sorry, coughing fit. Dane is like bleeding extremely profusely at this point, from ears and cuts on his arms and legs, from these rats and the magic of those, whatever spell it was that the father had used. So he begins to collapse into these rats. And just as he does, there is that breeze, the smell of a lake, and a golden light that emanates around his feet. And I'll get back 6 hit points. Who else looks very badly off within 60 feet of me?
Thinking
Well,
Eddard.
I feel that question. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So Eddard will also get back 5 hit points. I can only spend 2 dice at one time. As that golden light sort of like crashes to the ground, and as that finishes and some of the wounds close and Dane takes a breath, I draw my sword that I was given, and along with that all familiar sort of shh as the sword comes out, the rusty blade, now polished from chores and anger and mental contemplation that Dane has gone through over this last little bit, shimmers for a second, and then there is a burst of swords that appear around him. And all the rats within 5 feet of me will need to make a dexterity save of 14. Or they will take...
You failed.
Oh, well, they will all take 6 points of damage.
And these are just the ones immediately around you?
Yeah, it's a cantrip, so it's only 5 feet.
5 foot? Okay.
Yeah.
So 6 points there. We had 10 points. So, okay. Yeah, they are down to probably about 20% of what the original force that came at you had. So there's only a few of them remaining. All right. Tord, it's your turn.
Fucking hate rats. Don't let them bite you. And I am going to attack the swarm in front of me. But I'm going to expend a spell slot to smite it. Yeah, well, you guys all ran ahead, so. Total of 18 to hit.
Yes, absolutely will.
For 12 points of damage total.
Is that with your smite thrown on there?
That it is.
Okay. All right. So the ones that were on you are now reduced to half. Any of you who have had yours reduced to half whenever they go to attack you, please let me know that.
And I'm going to make my second attack. Mm-hmm. Natural 20.
There you go.
Finally getting some headway here. So that's 12 plus, god damn it, 15 points of damage.
All right. And actually, that will finish off the rest of the rats that have surrounded you. So, what does that look like? Is in these 6 seconds, you've managed to kill all of these rats.
There is the kind of heat that radiates off of Tord and his weapon as he comes down with a forward slash, kind of not leaving a scorch mark, but like the dust kind of parts, the dust and whatever kind of gore or whatever else was on pieces of rats kind of separate, and then like swinging over and down my shield and across, it kind of cuts through this long line of them, and they kind of just scatter from there.
The rest of them kind of scurry away, trying to live for another day. This meal is not worth it. Okay. Eddard.
So what happens with Eddard is a bunch of rats are skittering up his clothes and just biting him, and he's bleeding profusely. He's very injured. In just a moment of 6 seconds, he is almost entirely covered in just these skittering, bloody rats. And he falls to his knees and he puts his hands on the ground and he just starts trying to fling the rats off his hands. And he just says, "Get off, get 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 off!" And he yells out. And with that, I will cast Dissonant Whispers at 2nd level. Let's see.
Excellent.
Oh, nothing. It's a spell hit. I'm sorry, hold up.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a wisdom
Excellent.
save. My bad.
Wisdom save. Okay. What is your DC?
15.
Okay. And they got an 11, so they failed.
Okay. 2, 4, 7, 13 damage.
Again, about half of them go down as if this piercing noise was excruciating. All of them respond the same, but about half of them roll over and kill dead right in front of you, as the others seem to kind of recover and move back towards an attack. Ari, your turn.
So Ari looks as Sir John just felled the only thing that she had eyes for at this point. And then she realizes, okay, that he's gone, and she looks around really quick and she notices Eddard kneeling on the ground there covered in rats. And she's ignoring the ones that are on her, and she immediately goes over and starts knocking and trying to like sweep them off of him with her unarmed strikes.
Okay, so before you move, they're going to attempt to bite at you. What is your armor class?
My armor class is 16 at the moment.
Okay, they miss. You can hear and feel their teeth gnashing and connecting with one another behind you, but they don't manage to make purchase at all.
Okay, perfect. So the first attack will be a 25, and that'll be for 10 points of bludgeoning.
Okay. Yeah, you are able to smash, kick, throw across the room several others, and the few that were remaining trying to attack Eddard likewise disappear from the room.
Okay, perfect. And Dana's right there as well, right?
Very close by.
Okay, so for my second attack, can I redirect that to the rats that would be on him?
You probably have at least a 30 move.
I have a 40.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, that will be a 26. For 7 points of damage, and that will be an agile parry. So while I'm doing all this kicking, I have my sword out, so my AC now becomes 18 because it's still in my hand, and I'm using it to ward off the rats as they try to swarm on me again. But that's what I'm doing.
All right. So, Dane, how much damage has yours taken before she just dealt?
I was at 20% of my rats left.
Okay, so so Ari, you finish off a second batch of these things, and again, the remainder of them skitter back into the darkness, disappearing. So that means that Tord has been freed up, Eddard has been freed up, and Dane has been freed up. There is still the ones that were on you, Ari, the ones that are currently chowing down on the soft parts of Father Gesslin, and whatever still remains around Sir John.
I don't think there were any left around me because I had, or I guess unless there were some that I just left to attack me.
I can't remember if you managed to finish yours off or not.
I never really attacked them directly, so I guess they're probably still there.
So yeah, because that's right. You turned towards Dane to help him. So yes, your original lot is also still left. Okay, that was Ari. It is now the rat's turn. The ones that you turned away from, Sir John, are going to try to get at you again, following you, but not coming anywhere past your armor this time. Ari, as you move away,
wait a second. I would like to use another superiority die and do a riposte attack.
Sure. Okay. Absolutely.
So this is attack plus superiority die and extra damage. Okay. That is a 19 to hit.
Yep.
And then let's see, D10 and superiority die. So 7, 8, 9, 10 total damage.
Again, about half of this crowd that had tried to get at you has now perished beneath the strikes of your halberd.
Nice.
Ari, they give chase to you as well, and they don't seem to know what the hell they're doing. They're stumbling over one another, trying to get at you, and they're just not able to get to you. The ones that are on Father Gesslin are very occupied at the moment. So they're not going to be attacking anyone else currently. Sir John, that brings us to your turn proper.
Yeah, well, I'm going to attack him again. If there are rats to kill, I'm going to do it. Blind rage. So let's do this then. Well, that's a 9 to hit.
So you strike out again at these rats with your halberd, and you slice several of them in half before realizing that they're ones that had already died.
Yeah, too bad. Well, now we know for sure they're dead. So that was my first attack. Here's my second. That's much better. It's a 26.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so that is an 8 total.
All right, so you have wiped out the majority of the group that is on you. However, there are still enough pressing forward that you're not free just yet.
Okay.
Okay, Dane, we're back to you.
So having been freed from my rats and seeing Sir John fending off his swarm, I'm going to run towards, or rapidly move towards, it's not that far, towards Sir John. And when I do, I'm going to enter his square and grapple him. And I will. The rats can make a DC 15 dex save again.
Dexterity. And they missed it again.
Okay. So those remaining rats will all take 5 points of damage as that sword burst goes off around Dane again as he's more or less hugging Sir John.
Excellent. And that finishes off the remainder of that group of rats, as what is left of them, again, runs. That leaves only the ones who are currently snacking on your previous nemesis and the ones that I think are pressing the attack on Ari. All right, that was Dane. Tord, it is your turn.
Seeing that my swarm has been vanquished and the party is kind of taking control of the situation, I'm going to go out into the hallway. Oh, right. Ari is still under attack. I'm going to go help Ari. I'm gonna swing at these rats. Suppose I can help the elf. Total of 15 to the first hit.
That will hit.
For 8 points of damage.
And I think you had already reduced them to half.
Yeah.
Ariana Shial. Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't. They hadn't been hit at all. The ones that were on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that will bring them to approximately half of their numbers again.
I'll burn another spell slot to smite again. I'm about to have it with all these fucking rats. For another 8 points of damage.
Okay. You kill enough of them to cause the remainder of that group also to turn tail and run. The only ones remaining are those who are gnawing upon the remains of the priest on the dais at the head of the room. They are not going to attack you. If left alone, they will fill their bellies and slink off.
So, would it be possible for me to communicate with animals and just like intimidate them away, get them all out?
Yeah, you get that as a paladin oath of the ancients.
Yeah, I am. It's always prepared. I have to cast it, but
yeah. So yeah, how do you communicate that you want them to vacate the premises?
I don't use words or anything. I literally just like roar at these fucking rats. And like, you just got animal kingdomed, bitch. Get the fuck out.
And squeaking and squealing, they all turn and disappear. And the room is left empty, save for you and your quarry.
He seemed rather sick, like everyone else. How do you all feel?
Ari's panting a little bit from the exertion that she's just had, and she looks up at Tord. She's like, "Thank you." And she nods, just kind of slightly. And then she looks down and around at her wounds, and I'll be okay.
With that, I'm actually like I've picked you up, but like I have a hold of your face and I'm like looking in your eyes and like the sides. I want to roll a medicine check to see if Ari has contracted anything from these rat bites.
Are you actually touching me?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think so. I think she would try to stop you from touching her.
I mean, you can try. I'm just trying to help you.
Don't
All right.
touch me.
You want to post medicine checks? What do you want from me?
I guess let's try opposed grapple checks. You have to use athletics toward, and then Ari, you get to choose athletics or acrobatics.
Oh, she'll be using acrobatics.
You done lost. I got a
Sorry.
total of 24.
Yeah. She is completely off guard from you reaching out to touch her. She only got a 15. So she tries to dodge out of the way and she's too slow and you grab her, I guess.
It's not like an extended thing. Like I'm not even like grabbing you up either. I've just put you in a position where I can like your eyes are only as bloodshot as they should be. You're not showing signs of actually, I don't know. I didn't get to do the medicine check because you got all fucking abrasive.
You may make your medicine check. And let's do it with a disadvantage.
Way to go, Ari. Total of 18.
Okay. You're looking in her eyes and you don't see anything unexpected. So everything looks okay.
With like this brief examination done, you're let go. Eddard, you're up.
Yeah, I think she'd be struggling the entire time. She's like, "Get off me!" And she'll push you at the last second.
Yeah.
You don't have to do much to get to Eddard. Eddard is on his hands and knees still. And you kind of just walk up and lift his face up, and his face is just bloody and bitten all up. He's been just torn apart by these rats.
Regardless of the medicine check, which I would like to do to see if I feel like he's infected with anything, but Eddard, you're going to feel just a general warmth kind of emanating from my gauntlets as I pick you up, as you are going to receive 10 points of health from my lay on hands.
Well, thank you.
My God, you look like shit.
I feel like shit.
You do not need to repeat the save or the medicine check. You are able to check out any of them that are okay with you checking them out, and maybe even some who aren't.
No, I think it would have stopped after Eddard. Sir John is capable of doing it himself.
Quite.
Fair enough.
I look in one armpit, I look in the other, I smell it, and that's all I need.
Sounds like unwashed adventurer.
It wasn't pleasant.
Sweaty, girded male.
All right. So things have quieted down for the moment. You are left with the body of Father Geslin Gladeophon and a broken chandelier and the weapon that he dropped. When he dropped it, you noticed a little bit of the luster that it had faded just ever so slightly. But just looking at this thing, you're fairly certain that you're looking at a magical weapon. What are you going to do?
So I imagine at this point, Dane is sort of sitting there, crouched down, his arms around his knees, and maybe watching one of the last remaining rats as it gnaws on a portion of Gladeophon, and is just shaking his head in multiple disbelief in that someone could be this evil or this misguided, or that a cause could drive you to something like this. and ultimately that the only stopping point is death. And so these are kind of like the thoughts that are going through his head as he is discompassionately, I suppose, watching this rat as it sort of like chews through the face of Gludeathon. So, is this what we have to look forward to? Either killing them or becoming them?
Well, better to kill these ones for certain.
Sometimes it's not as A-B black-white as it seems.
Nothing is.
We tried to convince them they're wrong. That's the other option. Whether they'll listen or not, who knows?
But he believed. He believed so much that he died for what he believed in.
Would you not die for what you believe in?
So does that make me like him or him like me?
It makes you a human, boy.
He was just misguided.
I'm not saying he was a good person. I don't know.
Perhaps it's best we don't dwell here.
I would like to walk up to the corpse, reach down to the hand severed, or the hand with the severed fingers, and I'm looking for the ring.
So the ring is on his other hand, the one that was unmarred. You have to kind of shoo, maybe a rat, one last kind of hanger-on away. But you're able to then, especially now that his skin is severely slick with blood and no doubt extreme loss of weight, the ring slides right off of his finger.
Yeah. Eddard reaches down, grabs the ring, and he kind of just spends a couple of seconds looking over the gored corpse. And in like a display of ferocity, he just starts kicking the corpse. He just gives it a good like 10 to 15 kicks, and then he just turns around and walks towards the door.
So, as Eddard is kicking, Ari starts to move towards behind him, not stopping him. But when he starts to stand up, she leans forward and she puts her forehead on your forehead. Eddard, are you okay?
Not right now, but I don't think we have any time to worry about that.
Right, we should go.
Oh, Jeremy, would I know where in the castle this sigil was kept?
I think you probably have an idea of what room the teleportation circle is in, although you probably have never been there yourself. And then you also do positively know where Regan's study is.
Yeah, I would suggest that before we go to the actual sigil, I think we need to see. I know it looks bleak, nothing but corpses here, but if Regan is here, she can certainly help us. We must certainly find out, at least if she's here or not, if she's dead or alive. I know where she stays. You follow me?
I go with you. And she would follow him out.
The room itself is mostly stone, is that correct? Like the floor is stone.
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
So Dane looks back as people begin to depart this room, and he's going to take a moment and pull the father's arms down so that they're sitting comfortably by his side rather than sprawled from dying.
Dane, be careful. He's
So
riddled with plague.
I look back to Lightnor and nod. And then I'm going to pull a flask of lantern oil out, and I'm going to dump it up and down the length of his body.
Sir John nods curtly. Ah, good thinking.
And I will tentatively, almost like the mace or the flail is more contaminated than his body is. Grab it and rapidly jerk it so it goes skittering across the floor, back towards the others. And I think Dane, not 100% knowing why, but he can remember this prayer that his mother had said when the family dog had died, and they had gone out to bury it in one of these winters when his father was abroad. And so it's in Vykarillian, so no one else in the room, I don't think, would understand it. But I imagine that parts of Vykarillian are almost Welsh-ish in the way that they're spoken, so it gets a little sing-songy, and I think learning from his mother, and I think with a decently high charisma, I don't think Dane has a bad voice. And so he sets about this this prayer, and with one last look to Sir John, I will spark the body ablaze as I turn to leave.
John thinks to himself, he set a fire and he's walking away from it without looking. I'm teaching him right.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I like to think there's a moment that as Eddard and Ari are heading for the door, and Eddard hears the prayer Dane is telling. He kind of stops on a heel, and he turns around and he faces the corpse, just in time to see the spark fly and the corpse ignite. And I think it's just a moment where the words that Dane said kind of ring out in his mind. And there's no doubt that he may have not been good as we would have classified it, but he was just doing like everybody else. He was only fighting for what he believed in. And there's a moment where Eddard's lip kind of trembles and he has a couple of sniffles. And he turns around and he heads for the door.
I think while the body is being set on fire and there's like a transition with Ari and Eddard, I'm going to scoop up that flail. Kind of stash it in the old knapsack real quick.
All right. The body of the priest ignites quickly. It burns with a fervor, and his flesh is consumed like that of many of the people that he put to the torch himself for his beliefs. The room near the ceiling fills with black, sickly sweet, acrid smoke as it looks for a way out of this keep. And the five of you move further into this building, making your way with purpose on the heels of Eddard. You find a door, Eddard, that you know leads you know leads into Regan's study. What would you like to do?
Eddard doesn't waste time with pleasantries. He's almost 100% certain that she's not here. He tries the door.
So I think as you're reaching for the door handle too, Ari does something that she's never done before. She reaches out and she actually grabs your arm to get your
Looks
attention.
over at you. Oh, what are you doing?
Whatever we find in there, stay strong. I'm here with you.
He just kind of gives a short nod. And as he let his arm go, he reaches for the door.
You find the door unlocked. However, whenever you release the latch and push, it only moves about an inch before you feel resistance. It's bumping against something, and it's not opening all the way.
She had barricaded herself in. Can anyone help me with this?
Sure.
With a few of you putting a shoulder to it and pushing, it slides open and reveals a study Eddard that you are familiar with. However, you've never seen it in this kind of disarray before. There are things strewn about everywhere here, all over the floors. There's not a flat surface that doesn't have something open and spread out upon it. There are bottles that are smashed on the floor and left there. Candles that have burned down to nubs and not been replaced. But you are inside Regan's study.
So first line of thought, he's looking around to see if she's in here. And I'm assuming she's probably not.
Checking behind the door, you find more tomes and part of a chair that has been toppled over, but are relieved to not see any sign of Regan.
In that case, he would make his way to the desk that she works at and take a look at what it is that she had been poring over before she had left.
It looks like she was deriving some form of healing drought, just from what you can see.
He'll leave the book. Jeez. Well, she's not here. She might have gotten smart and gotten out of here. I don't know where she'd go.
While Eddard went to the desk to see what she was working on, Ari would head towards like a corner or some sort of like if there was like an L in the room or any place that maybe somebody could be hiding a big pile of books or whatever. She'd be looking for someone at this point while Eddard is looking at the book.
You check all the possible places that you can think of that someone might be hiding or would have been hiding, and you don't find anyone in here at all. There doesn't seem to be anything living in this room. Okay.
She doesn't appear to be here. That may be a good sign. Is there anything of hers that you were wanting, maybe, before you go?
I guess I'll take the book with the healing drought, just to kind of see if I can use that on our travels to keep an eye out for any sorts of herbs or anything. If I knew how she worked, or if I knew what her study was like, would I know of any section of her books that would have anything to do with the type of magic that the sigil would use? I guess that would be was it is it alteration? I can't remember the school.
So it's funny you should ask, because we are going to do a skill challenge. Anybody who wishes to help may do so. You need to get 5 successes before you get 5 failures. Each attempt that is made, successful or failure, is going to dictate how many hours time that this is going to take to work out. So, who is going to attempt to help Eddard try to decipher the notes of this spellcaster, this wizard?
I can start with a history check to see if I remember how everything was put together before it was thrown about.
It works for me.
It's a 23.
Fantastic. Okay. That is 1 success and 1 hour that this will take.
So John has been raised in a castle as well, so he's at least familiar with his letters, but he's also really familiar with like common symbolism in the world, or in this world, because he trained in heraldry. And so I don't know if you'd prefer like a knowledge history or a perception, but I'd like to help this as well.
I think either one of those could apply here.
Okay, cool. Then I will do perception. That's 12 for me.
A 12 is a failure.
Too bad.
So we are at 1 of each and 2 hours time that deciphering this will take. Anyone else?
So I think maybe these teleportation circles utilize some sort of like druidic ley line system that connects these portals through like tethers of magic, if you will. If that sounds neat enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think I would like to try I should have worded that better, but I'm gonna try a nature check.
I'll give you a point of bardic inspiration.
Please, please, God, give me all the inspiration. I'm actually probably gonna dump my point of inspiration.
Just got 1 for now, but it's a d6.
Okay, I'm putting my point of inspiration there as well because nature is not good. But hey, we got a total of 16.
That is 2 successes, 1 failure, and 3 hours time. As was brought up in the chat, all of you will qualify for a short rest during this. However, if you are aiding, if you've already rolled, etc., you cannot qualify for a long rest. Anyone else?
So after Dane has like picked through some of these books, like hoping to maybe find some fairy tales or knightly stories, something that's not intensely boring and wizardry, to no avail. He'll walk over and peer like into what we're looking at. So I have the invocation double sight, so I can read all writing. It doesn't matter what it is, and it all makes sense to me for some unearthly reason. But I think some of the symbols that are in here and some of the underlying ideas are some of the things that my mother had used to accomplish obviously much less grandiose magic, but nonetheless some of the they share a similar alphabet, if you will. So since I was brought up in some of the old religion and magics of that, I'm gonna take a roll with that and hope that the combination of what I remember from my mother and being able to read all writing is going to help me out.
All right, excellent.
So it's a 19 on the die. So 22.
Excellent. So that now is 3 successes, 1 failure, and 4 hours time.
And probably to Eddard, the way that that Dane would be able to contribute and explain it at first probably didn't make any sense, because he's explaining it from a much younger point, and a much less trained magical point. So it's probably like a lot of analogies involving like patterns of tree branches and how light works and stuff like that, before it finally clicks and it actually does give us some sort of progress down this road.
All right. Just over halfway there.
I'll take another go. Remembering where any of her secret hiding spots are, I could use investigation to kind of check the nooks and crannies that are not so pronounced. Let's see. Yep. Oh, natural 20.
Okay. So that is the last 2 successes that you need. So you will have succeeded in this attempt to find and figure out and decipher all of the pieces that were used to deactivate this teleportation circle. And it took a total of 5 hours in order to scrub through all of the notes and things until you were able to find what you needed, Eddard. So it is now nighttime. The sun has set here. And as you make your way through the keep, all of these papers and books in your hands, down towards where the teleportation circle is, all of you make perception rolls for me, please. Okay. Tord and Ariana Shial, most likely the two of you are bickering at each other and are not able to hear. But the other 3 of you, as you're kind of making your way down, you hear this noise echoing off of the stone that forms a lot of this keep and the buildings around. you realize that it's kind of rhythmic. And then you realize that it's voices. Kaski-gada. Kaski-gada. Skaski-gada. There's a lot of voices, and they are chanting in unison with one another.
Coming from below?
It seems to be coming from inside the keep to some extent, but louder from outside the keep.
Okay. But we're heading down. You said down, right?
Yes, the room that has the teleportation circles in the below surface, essentially where a dungeon would be.
Okay. Header kind of whispers to everybody. Doesn't look like we have much time. Let's get a move on.
Sir John is he doesn't have his halberd out inside here because it's a longer weapon and these are narrow corridors, but he does have his long sword at his side, and he actually draws it whenever he starts hearing this chanting.
When we get where we need to go, I'm gonna need some protection. I've never casted a spell of this caliber. This is just beyond my reach. Just watch my back, all right?
You must do it, Eddard. We believe in you.
Ari, so what if I don't like closed spaces? There ain't nothing to make fun of someone for. What? Where is that?
Are you hearing things again? You really should get that checked out.
You should try listening.
All I can hear is your voice, just natter, natter, natter.
Tord rolls his eyes.
Is the plan then to press on?
Yeah, Eddard can be sure that it's not coming from below. From what you explained, it sounded like it was coming from above and outside the actual keep.
It definitely does not sound like it lies in the direction that you're heading.
Okay. Yeah, Eddard's going.
Ari would get out her bow just in case, but she would follow Eddard.
A portion of this trek brings you past a row of arrow slits in the wall. And as you pass, you hear that chanting coming loud from through these arrow slits. Is anybody driven by curiosity enough to look out one of these arrow slits? Dane? Dane, you move over to one of these arrow slits, and at first you're having a really hard time finding the source of this chanting. It seems like it's coming from just all over the place. But then you focus in and you notice one of the jaws of the plague victims is moving. Skaki-gada. Skaki-gada. And then you realize all of the plague victims that you can see are chanting this phrase in unison.
Come on, no time for spectacle. Let's go.
And does the phrase mean anything to me, like at all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. you're fairly certain that it's black magic of some kind.
So I don't want to alarm it. I'm lying. The bodies are outside talking. That's who's chanting. And when like no one else freaks out, are you kidding me? I just said that the corpses are chanting.
Yes. So John goes to the window to look out as well. We
I
we
give
need
you
to
like the
leave.
you can't believe me look. Like
Stop looking out the arrow slits and let's go.
Yes. How do we get out of here?
Eddard,
Eddard,
let's
are you
go.
ready with the teleportation circle?
if they can still talk, can they do other things?
Let your imagination run wild now.
But what if they get out of the town?
The town is walled up.
Yeah.
Eddard, will you be able to break the circle after we're through?
Would have to roll like an Arcana to know the nature of the spell.
You are fairly certain that it would have to be physically done on this side.
Right. You got to destroy one. Well, if we broke the exit from the other side, you think that would be something similar?
It would certainly prevent anything from arriving where you have just arrived from, but that would be the case if people were trying to arrive from anywhere,
Right.
not just this location.
Right. It's no good unless I can get destroyed from here. We can't destroy it at all. So we're gonna need to barricade this room as soon as we get into it.
Easy enough.
All right. Press onward with haste, downward, arriving into the room in the bowels of the keep that contains this teleportation circle. This is where we're going to take our break. So, 5-10 minutes. Smoke them if you got them. Refill your drinks, kiss your spouse, etc., etc. And we will be right back to wrap up this delayed, but hopefully making up for lost time episode of Beneath the Banner Shadow. Stick around. Alrighty. I am back. I apologize, everyone who is tuning in live tonight for the incredibly rough start. I have no idea what was going on. YouTube was giving me a bum link that nobody else could use somehow. And we ended up having to make a big workaround locally. Luckily, we got it figured out. Hopefully, everybody had a good week this week. Hopefully, you got something awesome on the horizon for the weekend. Certainly do appreciate you spending your Friday night with us. Got another game coming up on the channel on Sunday afternoon. It will be Shadows over Chrome City. I'm running Abtab's adventure kit, Shadows over Drift Chapel, but setting it in their Harbinger system in the world of Chrome City, which those of you who have been around the channel for a little while have seen multiple games run in. So hopefully that's a lot of fun. Give everybody a little bit more time before we get back to it. Just to clarify again what Karen was talking about in the chat, yes, you would have qualified for a short rest. If you did not contribute in any way towards what was going on, then you can qualify for a long rest, even though it was 5 hours. It's close enough. Okay. Looks like we have everyone back. Somebody have any questions or anything before we dive back in? No? Cool deal. All right. You descend deeper into the keep of Warrenton. You pass into a room that is dominated by both the stone circle that takes up the majority of the floor in its middle, as well as the tapestries that hang on the walls, emblazoned with the colors and crests of the House of Warrenton. The runes in this circle are dark. Most of you would have at least heard of traveling by teleportation circle. It's usually something that only those with quite a bit of coin are able to afford to do, or those who are very powerful in their own right as far as magic goes. The chanting outside continues and echoes down the stone staircase into the large chamber that you now stand inside of. What would you like to do?
Lord, John, the door, please.
Yeah, using whatever furnishings, if any, to kind of barricade this door. I'm sure there's some sort of latch, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly move stuff in front of the door. The only way that this door would be able to be like barred or locked is actually from the outside.
Then just moving whatever kind of furniture from this room to in front of the door to block it at all.
Okay, absolutely. You get to work on that. It sounds like Sir John, maybe you're lending toward a hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Making
Okay.
defenses and that sort of thing. And I think Sir John starts to do this work, and he looks over at Dane and pauses for a moment as he's sort of working. And then he says, "Young Dane, perhaps you should aid Eddard to see if he can make this work any faster."
So when you said young Dane, Dane had immediately started to move towards you to go do whatever physical labor he was expecting for you to. And so it kind of catches him a little. Okay, I'll try. And I'll go join Eddard staring at this thing that neither of us know anything about.
So the first thing Eddard would do before even attempting anything would be to spread out all of the books or notes that he found on the subject in front of the stone portion that doesn't have any runes on it, just kind of like a guideline to be there. And he walks up to the center of the sigil. Well, here goes nothing. He kind of places his hands down onto the sigil and starts to think about anything arcane that he knows that would have anything to do with this.
Do you have access to any kind of magic that is akin to teleport? Misty Step, Dimension Door, anything of that nature?
No, I don't have any of those spells.
Okay. Would it look like Dane does? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So unknown to Dane at this point because he's not been forced to use it. But I do have Misty Step.
Okay. So because Dane is kind of looking over your shoulder, trying to help where he can, Eddard, you can make an Arcana check at advantage.
All right. Let's see. $23.
Fantastic. So what does it look like as you undo the ritual that had been cast upon this to deactivate it?
I don't know that it looks super flashy from the outside at first, but when he puts his hands down to the middle of the runes, he just kind of thinks, like, upon all of the years of training with Reagan, just behind closed doors, really, because nobody knew that he was learning these arcane arts. He thinks back to all those times, and he thinks back to the last time he saw her in her study, and then to the time where she was nowhere to be found. And I think when he opens his eyes, the runes start to light up just north of where he is, and it just kind of it goes clockwise around, just lighting up in a circle around him until it reaches the 12 position again, and everything just kind of flares up nice and blue.
I think one of the last things that you see when you had your eyes closed was Reagan's face kind of looming out of the swirling shadows. What is it that she says to you, Eddard?
Remember, steady hand, steady mind. Focus. Focus, Eddard.
Eddard, as you focus for the moment on Reagan's face, her face becomes that of another. The eyes boring into your mind once again. Eddard, I will not forget.
That's probably what causes him to just take a sharp gasp, and he opens his eyes.
And as you described, the runes of this circle light up to glow a brilliant blue. And there's this almost electric hum of energy that now fills this room, along with the ambient light, as this teleportation circle is brought back to life.
Maybe we should all get on it at the same time.
The thing ready?
So Dane reaches out and I'll touch Eddard's shoulder. And I'll kind of lean close to him. Are you sure it's going to the right place?
To Dan, I think the right place is anywhere but where we are now.
Unless it goes someplace worse.
Sir John, is there a reaction to the words of Eddard?
I was trying to decide if I even heard them. It sounded like it was kind of a private conversation, but I think I would go over to Eddard and say, Eddard, we need to make it back to my home. Can you take us there, or can you not?
Will there be any way for me to discern the exit?
You know that there are additional places that are like cycling runes, essentially, and you basically have to put it in a address to link it to another teleportation circle. And I don't think that you're going to understand or know the one that leads to Oxfeld.
Right.
However, Sir John, could you roll me a perception or insight?
Yeah, I'm going to do perception. Natural 20, so 24 total.
All right. There's a couple of the symbols on this circle that look familiar to you. Do you have a signet ring?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've seen these symbols on the inside of your signet ring before, engraved there.
Okay, yeah. So I spot these on the circle. Eddard, I don't think you have to worry. How do I change this?
I feel like as Eddard has his hands down on the circle, the runes are kind of circling, some clockwise, some counterclockwise, to form like a line pattern. I think you would just have to wait for the time to be right where all the ones lined up for Oxfell.
Okay. Yeah, so I can see them moving. And what you're telling me is that all I need to do is stop them when they get to the right position.
As soon as I take my hands off, it's locked in. Just say when.
Very well. One moment. A little longer. You can see them coming around here. There, now.
He takes his hands off real quick and holds them up like that.
And all of you are pulled into some other place, some other time, perhaps. The world stretches away from you into oblivion, and you feel this stomach flipping sensation kind of deep inside of you. And within a moment, you're back on the stone raised dais, surrounded by these moving, glowing runes. It takes you just a second, but then you realize that you're in a similar room, but this is not the same room that you were just in.
The banner's different.
The banners are different. For one, you see the colors of House Mellowain, the yellow and black of their shield with a coiled serpentine dragon upon it. There are lit torch sconces all around. What do you do?
Well, so John goes over to check and make sure that Zettel and Bernard are both recovering from the teleportation thing pretty well. But at the same time, he says, Dane, we must make sure my armor is in pristine condition. How's it sitting on me? Is it dirty? Is it damaged anywhere? I need to know.
Yes, there's blood on it, and we did just give me a few moments.
Very good, very good. Bernard, are you well enough to announce me?
I think it might take a moment or two, but I should be ready shortly.
Very well. Take care of Zettel in the meantime.
Yes, sir.
And I imagine Zettel is actually like, she's fine. And she looks down at Bernard, who's like on his ass on the floor.
Not her first rodeo.
Right.
Yeah, she's probably the only one of you that's done this before.
Yeah.
Eddard takes a few steps off of the dais and just kind of crumbles to his knees and just lays flat on his back with his arms and legs spread out and just breathes a huge sigh of relief.
You did well, Eddard. Can you stand to present yourself to the Lord of the Castle?
He's kind of huffing and puffing a little bit, but yeah, I'll be all right. If we're gonna be meeting the Lord, I need to wash. But yeah, I'm all right.
Good. So Jeremy, do I need to make a roll to determine or remember what the attitude is in Oxfeld toward orcs and elves?
So you are from Kerwal, which is inside the Duchy of Oxfeld. It's a holding to the south. I would imagine you have been to Oxfeld on a number of occasions. And generally speaking, as of late, it kind of mirrors the rest of the country. Elves are tolerated, especially not being in the north. Attitudes are a little more relaxed towards them. However, things here are a little bit tougher for orcs, especially the further east that you travel.
Okay. And like I would assume if we're in House Mellowain hold, we're probably like in the capital right now, in their castle.
So you probably understand that the teleportation circle at Oxfeld is actually inside the Temple of Evandel. This is the House of the Justicars.
Okay. Yeah. So once Bernard can stand, I'm going to say, we need to tell them what we know about the Justice Executor's death. And then I think I'm going to look over at Tord and say, Tord, I don't think you'll find many friends here.
Seems to be my story these days.
We will do what we can to vouch for you, but brace yourself for anything.
I appreciate the heads up, Sir John.
So I think why Sir John's been distracted, preening himself and talking and such, the brushing on his armor has gotten a little lighter, and Dane has started using prestidigitation to clean and polish this much faster. So it being a cantrip, obviously, right? So it's multiple castings, but unless something comes up, I will keep recasting it. So there's a slight breeze to his hair and a slight flutter to his the cloth parts of his armor as we go along.
Eddard is actually doing the exact same thing with the exact same spell. He's cleaning himself up with prestidigitation.
So I give you like a knowing look, and then kind of like shaking my head, like, we don't tell him.
He just gives you like a slide nod.
But like something that resonates with Dane, like he knows that feeling of seeing family after a long time, right? Because his dad was constantly gone away, and that's the immediate image he got. It's that morning when Dane knew his father was returning. Like his mother got him up early. Like they specifically made sure that they were bathed and clean and not in their Sunday best, but looking presentable for a father who had been away for several months. And so that's like kind of the image that Dane has in his head that Sir John is trying to do. And so I will go out of my way to hook him up, as the case may be.
Imagine like if Ari or Tord would get a glance of Eddard after all this has happened. You guys saw him when he was on the ground full of blood and rat bites, and now he just looks like in pristine condition. And he just looks at you and he's, do you guys he kind of just does a little bit of magic in his hands.
Although Dane's completely neglected himself, so he still looks like an orphan, covered in blood and rat fur. But Sir John looks good.
Yeah, there's a moment where Sir John's like, yes, this is quite adequate. And then he looks over at Dane and he's like, good lords. By all the gods. Spend some time on yourself.
Thank you.
All right, so yeah, I think then Sir John will turn to Bernard and say, all right, we're ready to be announced.
To who?
The Justicars.
Oh. Dane kind of shoots a look back to like the portal, like maybe that was a better option.
They're going to want to know some answers. I don't know what they'll believe, but we need to be prepared for anything.
Agreed. We must tell them all that we know.
It's at this time that Bernard calls over to you, Sir John, from the door. You can see a decorative silken cord hanging near the door. He looks to you. Sir, perhaps I should ring to announce our presence.
Yes, I think we're ready.
Very well, sir. He reaches up and grabs this silk cord and pulls it, and you hear deep elsewhere within the confines of this place, you hear the doom, 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 as a bell sounds. Bernard then kind of backs away from the door a little, and you can see that there's a small square window in the top of this door. This door is heavy, Vykarilian oak, and is bound in iron. And this small little opening is caged. You can hear footfalls coming down the stairs. They stop outside the door, and the small window opens, and you see the helmed face of a Justicar soldier look inside. And just at that moment, Bernard begins announcing the arrival of Sir John Lightnell, son of the Baron of Corrode, and his entourage. The soldier's face kind of looks at all of you, takes you all in. What are you doing here?
We bring news from the north, dire news, and we come seeking news of my father. We need to speak to someone immediately.
You've got an orc with you.
Yes.
An elf.
Yes, they have fought by our side many times, proven themselves over and over again.
Very well, my lord. There's no reason to get your knickers in a bind. I'll fetch the captain of the watch. The door shuts, and you hear the man's footsteps retreating. After a moment, you hear more footsteps returning. And the door opens and unlocks. And in step 4 of these soldiers, their hands on their weapons, but not held at the ready. These soldiers wear highly decorated armor and kind of stand into a formation, flanking on either side of the door. And one of them announces himself to you. Says, "My lord, I am to take you to the office of the High Executor immediately."
Very well. Shall we go?
Yes, let's not keep them waiting.
Very good, sir. Right this way. And he kind of steps to the front. One of the guards with him on the front, and the other 2 wait until the last of you has passed and fallen behind you. They march you through a number of corridors and stairs. The Temple of Evandel in Oxfeld is enormous. There is no question whatsoever that the Justicars have a presence here, a dominant presence in this city. Most of the fortifications that form the city walls are a part of their temple. The architecture in Oxfeld is enormous. It's far larger and far grander than most of you have probably ever seen in your lives before, especially outside of a large human city. everywhere you look, you see these Justicar in various stages of armored. Some of them are merely wearing robes of the same colors, but they're, writing, scribing these long scrolls or these thick tomes. And you're led up a spiral staircase that's very tight, and it ends at a door. This captain knocks upon the door, and there's a voice from inside the room. Enter. The door opens, and you are led into a cozy and well-appointed office of modest size. And there's a man in full armor sitting at the desk. He is busy writing on a stack of papers, frequently dipping his quill into the inkwell. And as he looks up, you can see the scars that mark his face as someone who does not just wear the armor of a soldier. Some of you may even have heard of this individual before. I'll leave that up to you. His full title is High Executor Sir Carrick Swaddlege, the Knight of Mirrors. His armor is polished to a pristine shine. You can see yourselves standing across the room from him in the reflection of his breastplate. He stands as you enter and puts down his quill, coming around the desk. You say that your name is Sir John Lightnor. Is that correct?
Yes, High Executor. I am the son of the Lightnor line. I understand my father is gravely injured.
This is true. We've heard this news as well. He kind of nods towards the soldiers. They close the door and fall into formation just inside of it.
I am traveling to my home to visit my father and to attend to his needs, along with my companions. We have heard there is much fighting in the south, but we bring dire news from the north as well.
He holds up his hand. This is the elf and the orc that you were traveling with whenever you were in Warrington?
Yes. Ariana Shial, he gestures to the elf. He starts to talk about, he starts to say Tord's full name, but then he just says, and Tord.
And these other two, they were also with you. This is correct.
Yes. Edward Bainton, another noble, and my squire, Dane, along with my steward and my scribe, Bernard and Zettel.
Eddard bows deeply. High Executor.
If it were up to me, I would end all of you where you stand. However, I am a man of Evandel. So I believe in justice, and you will stand trial for the murder of Executor Sinwith. Arrest them. He calls to his guards, and they begin to move forward.
My lord, please understand. We did not kill her. She fought at our side. She gave us time to escape the city.
You should expect that I believe this simply because you say it so.
I say it on my honor, and I will prove it to you.
May I attempt to persuade him?
You guys, just as a reminder, because it has been a while, are in possession of a document that may do just such a thing.
Oh, yeah. I forget who has it.
Yeah, who has this?
I think it was Ariana Shell.
Was it the document that Benchiel gave us?
Benchiel gave you a writ that basically vouched for your innocence in the happenings of Warrington.
Okay, so as Sir John says, and I can prove this, Ari would pass him the writ that she was digging out of her pouch.
As you produce this, one of the men takes a large step forward, kind of drawing his sword halfway out of its scabbard, and he puts his hand up towards this individual as he sees that it's simply just a rolled up scroll. What is this?
Proof, my lord. And
He takes it
out to the executor.
He takes it from you and kind of looks it over for just a second, studying the wax seal. He hands it to the captain. Captain, please validate this immediately. The captain bows and takes the scroll and leaves the room. If this is any kind of vindication, I hope you will understand that I am simply doing my job.
Of course. Tradition demands it.
However,
Executor.
if it is falsification, I will add these to your charges.
We cannot fear impossibility.
After a painstaking moment in time, the captain returns and hands the still sealed scroll back to the high executor, who looks at him quizzically, and he nods. It seems authentic, sir. It's Baneshield, the elven shield bearer. The high executor takes the scroll and looks. For the first time, you can see not shock, but just he's taken aback by this information. He reaches over and grabs a slim, sharp letter opener and breaks the seal. Baneshield. He kind of looks at all of you with a raised eyebrow as he unfurls the scroll and kind of quickly scans it with his eyes. He lets it fall closed. And you can see disappointment, again, is not the right word, but his demeanor shifts. He says, I see. The word of a duke may hold a lot of sway in many places of our kingdom, but not as much as it once did. However, the word of Baneshield is good. I have taken this to heart. I believe you. He turns and walks back around behind his desk, sits, shifts to another piece of paper, dips his quill once again, and says, tell me everything. And he begins to write as whoever of you, or how many ever of you, will recount what transpired in the town of Warrington.
Edward's been writing everything. He has it all. So he just spills it.
Perfect. Once he's finished, he takes his small amount of sand next to him sprinkles it onto the page to soak up the remainder of the ink and dampen it, and then blows the remainder of it off the page and holds it away just to double check it before handing it to the captain again. Put this on record, please. And he gets back up. Now, word is, well, word is more in line with what I believed the truth to be before I read Bane Shial's writ. I will do what I can to spread the information of your innocence. However, you should be warned. The reception may not be so warm elsewhere.
Sir John very pointedly doesn't look back at Tord and Ariana Shaw, and he says, "We expect to encounter obstacles at every step of the path."
Almost as if sensing what you were referring to, his eyes drift to Ariana Shial and Tord, and he nods. I could send a contingent with you to Corwall, if you so choose.
We would appreciate an escort.
He kind of looks to the captain and snaps his fingers. Send one squadron with them. They are to escort them to Corwall, stay to make sure that they are established, and then return immediately. The guards then turn and leave the room. He extends his hand towards you, Sir John.
Yeah, I would absolutely take his hand.
He kind of grasps your forearm just below the elbow and shakes. And he says, "Thank you for clearing up what has happened to one of our own."
The executor died a heroine. We owe her our lives, and we will do what we can to repay her.
She was a good Justicar and a good warrior.
Yes.
The rest of you, I extend my thanks as well. You continue to serve this Lord, then just maybe you can make a difference. Good luck. Good luck. Is there anything that you wish to take care of while in the city of Oxfeld?
In the recapping of what went down in Warrington, did we bring him up to speed that there's like a massive amount of undead back there on the other side of a portal that are just sort of festering and chanting? Because if not, I'm going to take this opportunity to do that.
He seems very disturbed by this information. And he sets about something in motion. He's running around discussing the matter with several other people in the temple, and it seems like maybe they're going to send the contingent to find out what's going on, possibly to deal with it.
Is there a shield bearer in Oxfeld?
There is. So Oxfeld is the house of the Duchy of Oxfeld, and House Mellowayne currently holds the shield and the duchy title.
Okay.
So it is a Duchess, Duchess Mellowayne. She is not in the temple, but she is here in the city.
Okay. I have something I need to show her.
that might happen, maybe. Getting an audience with a duke or duchess is not an easy thing to do on the drop of a hat.
Oh, I understand.
Okay, so it sounds like Edward is going to be attempting to get an audience with the Duchess. Is there anything else in the city that you guys are going to be trying to get up to?
If Eddard is taking that time, Sir John wants to go meet the contingent of Justicars that are going to be escorting them to Kerwall. And I want to watch them drill against each other, like maybe just while they're doing their normal drills during the day or whatever. And I want to observe and find which one of them is the most capable, and then I want to duel that one to test my skills against them, against the Justicars.
They certainly seem to know their way around the battlefield. They have many of them have divine magics gifted to them from prayer to Evandel, the goddess of justice, to kind of back up their martial training. However, one-on-one, they don't really stand much of a chance against you.
John wears a smug grin, sort of buried underneath his scowl about his family situation.
Okay. If there is nothing else, Edward, how are you going about trying to get an audience with the Duchess?
I can't decide if Eddard will try to persuade whoever it is that's going to get him in contact with this person, or just straight up deceive them, because he has the power to do either. But I think that it would be easier to lie to the person to get him into the building. So I think he would probably try to deceive the person. I think that he would try to probably try to convince whoever it is that he brings a peace offering from Warrington, a priceless artifact from the castle, and he shows the dagger. I guess it technically wouldn't be deception, but yeah, let's go with persuasion. What else? YOLO.
So, if you are presenting this, the person seems intent on taking it from you as a gift and presenting it to this person. They certainly are not going to let you take a weapon before the Duchess,
Right.
as an unproven individual.
Would they be willing to let me in with them in possession with a weapon?
Maybe. We'll see what you get on your roll.
Oh gosh, this is the big one. I'm gonna go ahead and use a point of inspiration. Natural 20.
Excellent.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Message. Okay. So, not only are they okay with you carrying the dagger on you, as long as it's just the dagger, that you keep it sheathed, etc. That it just so happens that the Duchess is in the middle of like a gap in her schedule. She is moving from training to going to freshen up and stuff before dinner.
Do I
So
know her name?
make a history roll.
Let's see. 24.
Yes, absolutely. So her name is Deidre Mellowing. But you would know also that it would no way, shape, form, or fashion be appropriate for you to call her Deidre.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you would probably call her my lady or
My lady.
Duchess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is Eddard by himself at this point?
Yeah,
you're kind of given.
so.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
All right.
Ari would have tried to go with him.
Mm.
I'm not sure if they would have let her through at that point.
Make me a roll, Ariana Shiel.
Am I making a perception? Or sorry, persuasion?
Persuasion, would probably work in your favor.
Yeah, probably not gonna. Oh my gosh, I rolled a 17, so that would be 18.
Okay. Yeah. With the coaxing of Eddard, and again, the elves are a lot more tolerated here than they are in the northern reaches of the kingdom. So you are able to come with him if you'd like.
I would very much like.
Okay.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
So the two of you are stripped of your weapons aside from the dagger.
Right.
And definitely are a little fussed over to try to make sure that you're, properly attired, that you're clean. Perhaps a bit beyond the prestidigitation. You missed the smudge behind your ear or something. But when you are made ready, you are taken to the practice field and kind of left there. And after a moment, you can see that there's several people in mellowing colors kind of milling about. And all of them are, covered in sweat and in dirt from having, trained. Most of them are removing their armor and things, kind of dressing down to their padding. And one of them is a woman who is probably the dirtiest of all of them. She's young, much younger than you might have expected. The individual that brought you here has made his way over to her and is speaking with her and gestures in your direction. And she kind of turns and looks quizzically at the two of you. And she undoes these vambraces that she's got on her forearms, kind of drops them on the bench, and kind of tightens up this sword belt that she's wearing and starts walking over towards you, rolling up her sleeves.
It is very nervous. It's visible on his face.
She approaches the two of you. You can see that she still hasn't recovered her breath fully from the exercise of training. And she's got sweat all over her face. As she nears you, she kind of looks at both of you and says, You wish to see me?
Yes. Eddard bows deeply. My lady, my name is Eddard Bainton. I am the son of Miriam and Alistair Bainton of House Warrington.
Warrington.
Listen, please, I must be frank with you. I was not true with your guards back there.
She kind of looks towards the man who just introduced you to her with this kind of scathing glance, shakes her head, and then turns back towards you. Go on.
He kind of just is frozen for a moment. He says, without any kind of grip on what he's going to say, he kind of just he kind of looks around to the guard and to the Duchess, and he looks down to his sheath where his dagger is. He says, "May I?"
She kind of scoffs a bit and says, please. Just understand that if you intend to do me harm, you're going to need a bigger weapon than that, boy.
Of course not, my lady. He pulls the dagger from his sheath, and he kind of lays it across his two palms. This may be a long shot, but does this weapon mean anything to you?
She looks at you for a long moment before she finally casts her gaze down upon the dagger itself. She's crossed her arms across her chest. No? Should it?
I was told by... he doesn't want to name drop, but he would totally do it in this situation. Ben Shell, that this blade was passed down the line of shield bearers, and that it is rumored that this blade cannot injure a shield bearer.
What the boy is trying to say, and he's taken so long, is that this weapon doesn't hurt him. And we want to know why.
She kind of looks to you, Ariana Shial. She says, Bane Shial spoke with you. You've seen him.
Yes, we just came from him. Not 2 days past or so.
Well, I guess it's nice that he shows himself to someone. Let me see the dagger. She kind of puts her hand out and motions towards you.
He hands it to her.
She takes it. She kind of looks at you seriously for a second, Eddard. And then she draws it down the back of her forearm. It leaves no blood, no cut. She looks at the dagger. She says, that's interesting. A trinket, perhaps? She hands it back to you.
He draws the blade across his palm, just repeatedly, almost like a nervous tick. So I've had this blade for my whole life. It's given to me by my father and his father before him. Ben Shell says that somewhere down the line, I don't know. I just have a lot of questions. And
Eddard, I don't think she believes you. Here. And she offers her hand, her arm. Cut me. Prove it.
Are you sure?
Aye.
Okay. He does slightly drag the dagger across Ari's palm.
It leaves a line of red as it cuts the flesh. And again, Lady Melowain's eyes kind of get big for a moment. Interesting indeed, but I have no information that I can offer you. I've never heard of this weapon before, and if you are a shield bearer, she says to you, with no small amount of doubt, then why do you not know your lineage?
It's been hidden from me. My parents were just librarians, as far as I know. Ben Shell was unable to give me any advice.
She says, well, I am no historian, and I do not spend as much time with my books as I am told I should. Perhaps someone else will be able to better answer your questions. I can tell that this is disappointing to you, but I am afraid that I can offer you nothing more.
Not at all, my lady. He bows. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, of course. Your name again?
Eddard Bainton of Warrington.
Well, good luck to you, Eddard Bainton, and to you. I did not catch your name.
Ariana Shiel.
Ariana, yes, of course. Well, good luck to you both.
Thank you.
She turns and heads back to what she was doing. Okay. So, you finish your business in Oxfeld and you gather your supplies that you're going to need for the journey of a few days that it will take you to get to Kerwall. The Justicars meet you whenever you are ready to depart, and you all head southward from Oxfeld and begin to make your way towards the home of the Lightnor family. And I think that is probably where we're going to go ahead and stop for the evening. It sounds like we've got a couple people that need to get to bed, and we got a later start than we should have. So I think this is probably going to be a good place to go ahead and call it, and we'll pick up next month, whenever the end of April, I believe, whenever we pick this back up again. So before we call it a night officially, I'm going to pass it back to my players, let them do an outro, and then we will go ahead and call it an evening. So, Steve, why don't you go first?
Well, as always, thanks for the game, Jeremy. It's quite enjoyable, even though I almost literally died. I had one freaking hit point. Like I was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna die to a rat. Awesome. What a way to go out. But no, enjoyable. And to all the players, I appreciate it. I always enjoy playing with all of you. And thanks for everyone who watches now or in the future, or if you're time traveling and watch it in the past, that's cool too.
If you do that, please contact me. Let me know how. Yes, thank you very much, Steve. Anybody who has a YouTube channel, you should be able to find the link to it in the description of this video down below. Hello, Harry Arn. All right, next up, Baron.
Hey everybody, I'm Baron. I played Masaka, the best character, obviously. I'm kidding. I look forward to this game every month, and I'm bummed we couldn't start sooner because I also hit the sluggish wall of fatigue. So until next month, man, I will be eagerly waiting.
Thank you very much, both of you. I know we're East Coasters, and I appreciate sincerely that you stuck with us. It's super late where you are. All right, next up we have Eli.
Hey everybody, I'm Eli Kurtz. This was another great session. It was fun to finally put an end to the dude who made our lives difficult in the first place. I could have just, killed Torrid back in that very first session, and then all of our problems would have been avoided if that priest had also just left us alone. But yeah, anyway, you can find me on the internet at Zap Dynamic on Twitter. You can find me at the Mythic Gazetteer. And thank you so much, Jeremy, for playing another great session with us.
Always my pleasure. Thank you guys for sticking with the massive amount of technical issues at the front of this. All right, next up we have Josh.
Hey guys, I'm Josh. You can find me on YouTube or Twitter at RollTheBonesTV. Tonight, I reprised my role as Eddard. Why won't anybody tell me who my real parents are, Bainton? And it was a great time. Finally got to take care of that guy who was in Warrenton mucking everything up in the first place. So, like Eli said, great time. Thanks again for the great game, Jeremy. Thanks again, everybody, for playing. It's always a blast. Looking forward to, was it session 8 already? Yeah, coming up soon.
It will be. It will be session 8.
Can't wait for
7
it.
in the can.
Yeah. Anyway,
Awesome.
Thanks, guys, for watching. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, Karen.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Karen. I have a channel called Myth and Gears. Do live plays on it, mostly Genesis at this point, but we're going to be starting up a D&D 5e campaign at some point with using Jeremy's setting of Momentum. So I'm really looking forward to that. Tonight was great. Ari is now in the middle of a place where she feels very much like a fish out of water. And this will be wonderful. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And I'm really happy to have dealt with Father. His name will not be mentioned because we don't like it. And that was great. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. And can't wait till next session.
Fantastic. You guys have all been wonderful throughout this thing. This campaign has literally come to life with how much you guys have put forth into this. So it makes it an incredibly enjoyable experience to be able to throw things at you and see how you deal with it and how you hit the ball back right into my face session after session. So thank you very much to the 5 of you for being fantastic players. And to anyone who has watched, thank you very, very much. Subscribe, like, all that jazz. Check out the rest of the stuff on the channel. There's plenty of it. And yeah, we'll see you next month. So until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.